Ukraine with an internet connection that seems to work today, but more outages in the area yesterday, so I couldn't broadcast everywhere. I was broadcasting just on my phone using my data, so I could broadcast to one place. So sorry, guys, but the folks that have 12,000 followers beat the 400 followers. No offense, but TikTok is free. There's no difference between all of you, just so you know. I don't pick favorites. I hear people are worried about favorites. You're all the same. You can use any app you want, but you know what I mean? I can only pick one, and the 12,000 wins. So what do I do? You know, but today we got everybody, so that's good. All right, let me get TikTok rolling, and then we move on from here. All right, TikTok. Got my mirrored image. Boom. There we go. All right. Yep. Same problem with Twitch. I would same issue because I broadcast to everybody who isn't TikTok goes through a separate app. And sometimes the app screws up too, but you all broadcast together. So, you know, you live or die together. Hello, you TikTokers. Hey, Stuart. Oh, anyway, we are here. We seem to be working today, so that's good. Hey, Shane, thanks for that. Let's see how my speed is, but we shall see. Thank you, Succeed. Oh, anyway. Oh, hello all. So a good deal of news today. Hey, Boston, with my from Ukraine. Hey, DBZ from the UK. Dave from Halifax. I'm just, as always, looking at my temperatures here. Well, that should work. Okay. Roy in London. Haven't been there in a very long time. I need to go back. Crystal in Canada. Vlad's good. I actually checked in with Vlad today because I was getting worried too. I hadn't heard from Vlad, our friend in Ukraine, friend and colleague. So checked in today. He's good. I sent him the auction share, which was over $600 this time that we sent back to Ukraine because you guys were very generous with the auctions. So that was nice. As I've told you guys, half the auction revenue I bring in, we do really cool auctions of Ukrainian stuff. Thank you, Elizabeth, over on Discord. And when the auctions end every Wednesday, 50% of the auction proceeds go back to Ukraine. So I got to send over $600 to Vlad this morning, which was great. Thank you, Randy, and Adventures. And he will be using it for, I don't know, lots of possibilities. I can ask him exactly, but I know the stuff he's working on. You know, it's always the camouflage nets are always the fallback for the military, but there's lots of other stuff too. So in any case, so it was good. So that was nice. We got to make another $600 plus donation to Ukraine with your guys' generosity. So thank you. Anyway, another minute of folks to join us and we'll get rolling here. Like I said, pretty busy news day. So we got enough news. Oh, thank you, Big John. And whoever did the microphone. Oh, there's the mic. Big John, you did the microphone. I say Big Hawk was in the night. There we go. I'm getting all my bigs, my Mr. Bigs mixed up here. Hey, Shade, working late. What's up, guys? All right, I think we can start. All right, so thank you, Lizard Person, for the hearts. This is John Aravosis. This is my show. Thank you, Joe Warren. My nightly show, Monday to Friday, 6 p.m. Eastern Time, U.S., where I talk about the latest news from Ukraine. The way the show works is I will go and do, thank you, B. Smith, I will do the news first. Sometimes I intermix questions in sometimes. Sometimes it depends. Thank you, Elizabeth. But then the second half of the show is always questions anyway. But if you want to help support my work and want to get a question in early, you can go over to YouTube. By the way, YouTubers, folks who think you're not favored, you're the only folks who get to ask super chat questions because there's no other functionality anywhere else. So the only folks who get to interrupt the broadcast with a question are you people. So everyone's got their pluses and minuses here. Daddy doesn't play favorites. Thank you, Allie and Marcy and Lori. So anyway, yes. So what you can do on YouTube, you can ask a super chat question that you guys pay for. It supports my work. And as a thank you, I will answer it immediately as soon as I'm done with the train of thought. Otherwise, TikTok, I very much appreciate the TikTok gifts. Those help a lot as well to support my work because I do this for free and I do it full time. So if you guys can keep those coming, I appreciate it. And I will always do a shout out for the gifts that pop up on the screen. I will always do a shout out when I see those on TikTok as a special thank you. Like Timothy's right there. Thank you, Timothy. Miss him sometimes when I'm in the middle of talking about something. Thank you, Joe. But I do try. All right, guys, let's get rolling. So Saturday morning, we've got our coffee talk or our coffee talk for the TikTokers. I see. Kelly, you know I love you. You know I'm always raving about you. You're like my military guru. You know that. So in any case, the coffee talk Saturday morning, every Saturday morning-ish, We get together around 11 a.m. Eastern time US, assuming my internet connection is working. Thank you, Timothy, for the, we got a couple here. Timothy, Joe Warren, Allie, and Susan. Susan always being generous, Susan as well. Thank you, Royce, and Heine. And Saturday morning, 11 a.m. Eastern time US, I do a special show on TikTok and YouTube and Twitch and everywhere else for the paid monthly subscribers. Now, TikTok, you will just literally come on TikTok. It's the paid monthly subscribers. The mods can tell you how to do it. On the rest of you, we do it via Discord. So the YouTube subscribers, Twitch, Discord, Ko-fi, all of you will come via the Discord community. You should sign up there, link your accounts. Most of you, I think, have already done it. I've helped some of you figure it out. But Saturday, 11 a.m. And if we're lucky, Vlad will join us too. Never a promise, because Vlad does have a life and a family. And usually it's 6 o'clock at night, his time, but he will hopefully join us too. All right, guys, let's get rolling. So horrific attack in Ukraine today. Yes, you will see the map is coming up for this discussion right now, Stephen. So horrific attack in Ukraine today by the Russians. Let me pull this up. The Russians attacked the town of Hroza near Kharkiv. Hroza is, I'm going to go more or less around here where my finger is. It's kind of east-southeast of Kharkiv. This is Kharkiv right here, Ukraine's second largest city. It's about 30, 40 miles from the Russian border, so maybe 50, 60 kilometers. And the Russians attacked a funeral wake. There was a wake taking place for a Ukrainian soldier who had died. The wake was actually because he had been buried previously in Dnipro, another city in Ukraine, but he's from Hroza. That's, I guess, the village he's from. His wife and son wanted to move him to the hometown, sort of the ancestral hometown. They did that today. So today was the wake, or maybe it was going to be tomorrow, because I don't know how wakes work in Ukraine, but the wake was today, commemorating this guy's life, commemorating finally bringing his body home. And they were holding a reception at a cafe, and the Russians blew it up. They blew it up, surrounding shopping area as well. They used, we believe they used missiles that were because of the size of the explosion, because of the size of the payload, in essence, the size of the bomb in the missile, which you can help judge by the size of the explosion. The experts today were saying, thank you, Kat. The experts today were saying that they believe the Russians used like an anti-ship missile. They didn't use some of the usually they use dumb missiles. A lot of times they do, right? I mean, they use the drones, but the drones, don't have a huge explosion in them. They wouldn't cause something like this. They've got the S-300 missiles. Those are anti-aircraft missiles. They're relatively dumb in the sense that the Russians just point them at cities, at civilian areas, and they just hope they hit people, and that's it. So it's a real crime, because they really are just pointing them at citizens, but they don't actually know where it's going to hit. These missiles, because of the size of the explosion, we believe that these are these were anti-ship missiles. Now, the really just horrible. 51 Ukrainians were killed. There's video, can't show you the video. I put up some video that did not show bodies on TikTok today. The other videos are gruesome. There's bodies everywhere. As I said, it's a wake. It was a cafe they bombed. 51 people are dead, including a 6-year-old child. Thank you, John S. Among the dead, the woman's wife and son who organized the event were killed at the event. It's really heinous. I mean, what they did. Now, in my video today earlier, I talked about something I talked about with you guys before. A super chat. I don't see any super chats from things that don't go live, Carlos. Sorry about that. No. Sorry, real quick. Sorry. Thank you, Mama Shine. Just so you know, the reason my internet wasn't working, I set up the broadcast just in case it was fixed, but also so the mods could go and there'd be a discussion area to tell you guys, because otherwise there's nowhere to tell you guys. I mean, I mentioned it on the Discord, but there's nowhere on YouTube to tell you that I'm not doing the broadcast. So that's why I had it hanging there, but I didn't even know you did a super chat. Thank you. I mean, if you have a question, feel free to throw one in. Well, you just paid, but feel free to throw in a free one. Obviously, I do appreciate it. So yeah, getting back to this, guys. So one of the things I mentioned today on TikTok is this is what the Russians do. And I don't mean that as hyperbole or metaphor or anything else. Thank you, Nicola. The Russians kill civilians. They don't do it by accident. They don't do it as collateral damage, which is the military term, meaning, if you're going to blow up a factory, a military factory, there's going to be some civilians in it. There might be civilians walking by. There might be a civilian business across the street, right? That all these civilians could get killed. That's collateral damage, it's called. That's not what the Russians do. Russian military strategy involves attacking civilians on purpose as targets. Okay? Thank you, Renner. That is not the military strategy of any developed country. Thank you, Bonnie. We do not attack civilians as targets. We do not. In the old days, sure. And you will see the trolls bring it up. They bring up, first of all, they like to bring up World War II. Thank you, Eva. And, I would say looking back at 1944 is probably not a great, or 1945, thank you, Mama, is not really a relevant thing to look at when we're talking about 2023. If you've got to go back 80 years to find something that America did that you don't like, then maybe America's doing pretty well because you had to go back 80 years, right? Iraq, some U.S. soldiers did do bad things. Abu Ghraib was horrific. There was also some kind of an attack on a wedding or something. Both of those were horrific, and those soldiers were held accountable for it. Thank you, Trilytic. In America, the news of that was horrific, right? People hated it. The soldiers were held accountable. Abu Ghraib, the soldiers were held accountable. Thank you, Marcy. What did the Russians do? When the Russians killed those civilians in Bucha, which was north of Kyiv, just a little bit west, and the Russians, thank you, Marcy, as well. Sorry, and Ava. Trilytic. It's funny, as I'm giving you guys the news and doing the quick thanks for the gifts on TikTok, I don't always remember who I've even thanked. So like right there, I wasn't sure if I even thanked Marcy, so I might have thanked you twice, Marcy. So sorry about that. I try. It's sometimes like, it's like I'm just on a roll. So Bucha, the town that the Russians just savaged the first month of the war, took over the town, killed the civilians. The reports to the international investigators, thank you, Joe, the international investigators for the war crimes, horrific. Some of the locals, which is good news, some of the locals in Bucha saw everything. They saw the Russians. They saw them approach civilians. They saw them kill civilians dead in the street. Some of them, I think, even got video or photos. They've got good evidence of these guys. Bucha, by the way, is also, for me, the iconic image of Bucha was all the civilians being dead on the streets, like 20 civilians dead on this city street. I should say a village street, not a city, a village street. And there's one old man, in his little jacket and everything, riding a bike, but they shot him on the bike and he's dead on the side of the road, still sitting on the bike and holding on to the steering column of the bike. Really, or the bars, really disgusting. What did Putin do? He gave those guys medals. Because the rest of the world got upset about Bucha, Putin turned around and gave them medals. Okay? Did America give medals to the folks at Abu Ghraib? Nope. Did we give medals to the guys that because they blew up a wedding of Iraqis? Nope. That's what Russia does. And again, this isn't just me saying it. You can Google and research, Google any experts talking about Russian military strategy. This is what Russia does. It's really sick. Now, the New York Times actually went through and pulled up a bunch of the Russian atrocities from the last year and a half. I'm going to read several to you. Again, because I think this is an important point and it really brings home why this war matters, why fighting the Russians is a unique kind of evil. And frankly, it harkens back to World War II, and it really does, as far as fighting, not just, you're fighting over a border dispute. No, we are fighting, thank you, Ellie, we are fighting evil. And we are fighting a country that wants to commit genocide. They want to wipe out the Ukrainian state. They want to wipe out Ukraine's existence. That's a whole other issue there. So 2022, the Mariupol theater. The Russians blew up the theater that children and women and elderly men were hiding in, killed as many as 600 people. The theater had the words children written on the sides, but they got that. Julia, that's bullshit. Yeah, one more like that. Sorry, but mods, keep an eye on Julia because that's BS. That's troll stuff. That's troll stuff. So don't even go there with that. Mariupol, shopping mall in Kremenchuk, 20 killed. A Russian strike at an apartment complex in Chaziv Yar, 43 killed. Russian cruise missile attack on a shopping center, a dance studio, and a wedding hall in Vinnytsia. This is 2022. 23 killed, including a 4-year-old girl with Down syndrome. Russian missile struck a convoy of vehicles carrying people fleeing from Zaporizhia. People were fleeing the war in a civilian convoy. The Russians blew them up, killing at least 30 people. This year, Dnipro, a heavy-duty missile built to sink ships exploded in a dense Ukrainian cityscape, this is from the New York Times, of homes and shops, devastating a 9-story residential building, killing 46 people, including 6 children. Uman, a Russian rocket attack on an apartment block in the central Ukrainian city of Uman, killed at least 25 people. This is what they do. They don't accidentally kill people. I mean, we all accidentally kill people. The Russians kill civilians on purpose because they think, as a matter of policy, that by killing civilians, the Ukrainians will get fed up and say, oh my God, oh, the dam. I'm sorry, Sophie's I forgot the dam. Thank you, Carlos. I didn't, the New York Times, I don't think had the dam in there either. Sophie on TikTok makes an excellent point. The dam. The Russians blew up the Kakhovka Dam. Thank you, Violet. Remember that? Thank you, Carlos, as well. They blew up the dam. I mean, ecologically destroyed the area. God knows how many civilians and military they killed by doing it as well. I mean, because I don't think we're ever going to know, right? The flooding that they caused, they didn't care. The dam alone was a war crime. And the reason the dam's a war crime is because you're attacking a non-military target in a civilian area, and your main, basically, target is to kill civilians in the area, and it's going to kill civilians, and you didn't care. So yeah, that's another one. The hospital in Mariupol. Actually, thank you. Rich is saying the hospital. Remember the hospital in Mariupol? The hospital for pregnant women? And they blew it up. They blew up the ward. They blew up the ward where women are giving babies. And they killed the one mother that was shown being taken out on a stretcher. She's super pregnant, and she's got a blanket that looks like watermelons. She has the baby. She and the baby died 2 days later, right? They blew up a Red Cross building in Mariupol. Thank God this one was empty. This building, I've seen pictures of it. Huge Red Cross on top of the building because it's a Red Cross building. The Russians bombed it. Because one of the things they do is they go after supplies, humanitarian supplies. They've routinely blown up because they want Ukrainians to get sick and die. They blow up hospitals and medical centers all the time. I don't even have the list of the latest. It's something like 1,000 or more. The number of medical facilities the Russians have bombed, because the idea is if you bomb medical facilities and then you attack civilians, civilians have nowhere to go and they die when they're injured, right? The Russians do this is not even this is me talking now. The Russians love to do double tap attacks as well. CNN was literally a witness to one of these when they attacked the CNN crew. The Russians attacked CNN months ago. What's her face? Ward, Clarissa Ward was there, and she did a wonderful broadcast. And they get called out. She's traveling around with an emergency medical team, an ambulance team in Ukraine. And they get called out because the Russians have attacked an apartment complex. And again, mind you, they attacked an apartment complex, and it's always possible it was a mistake, right? That maybe the missile went crazy. They go to the apartment complex. Thank you, Dora. And while they're there, the ambulance crew tells her, we've got to be careful because the Russians like to double tap. They basically attack once, and then they wait until the ambulances and the police and everybody arrive to help. And when all the helpers are there, they blow up the place again. This is an Al-Qaeda and ISIS trick as well. They would love to, Al-Qaeda would do this, attacking our embassies and things. They would attack an embassy, have an explosion happen, and then 10 minutes later, when all the ambulance and the rescue people are there, you get and civilians come to help. So you've got way more people. You blow it up again. What did Russia do? They blew up the building again when Clarissa Ward was there. They got the warning coming in. They come racing out, and what this proved, by the way, this was proof that the Russians hit the civilian apartment building on purpose, because they didn't hit it once. They hit it twice, 10 minutes apart. That is intentional. Like I said, you can Google this if you want. Any of the naysayers. I got 2 comments for the naysayers. One, Google it and look at the experts who tell you about Russian military strategy. This is not my theory. This is well-established, well-known who the Russians are. They blow up civilians as their targets on purpose. The second thing is, I will also tell whenever the naysayers like to say, "Oh, America does it too." Thank you, Renvox and Mikasi. Even if America were to do it, that's a defense for Russia doing it, right? I mean, think about this is where I say they're trolls who are saying this, right? When 52 people are blown up by the Russians at a cafe, at a wake, commemorating the death of someone, including children. And your first response isn't to go, that's awful. Your first response is to go, America does that too. What I'm hearing is you don't care about the deaths. By the way, thank you for the confetti there, Dora. You don't care about the deaths, right? That's what I'm hearing, that you're trying to make excuses for the death. I mean, the whole point of mentioning America does it too is to say Russia's not that bad. And that's why you're saying it. And that's why whenever anybody brings that up, I sort of refuse to even have a discussion with them, because the whole intent of doing this of making the comparison is to lessen what Russia did and to make excuses for Russia did. So anyway, all right. Really horrific, just horrific. Sorry, that was my big story of the day, but there's more news too. This was interesting. So Biden had mentioned yesterday that one of the things he's thinking of doing is he's got like some ideas on how he could keep funding Ukraine, even if Congress is difficult. And I was telling you how, he can't just take money from anywhere. I mean, the money is allocated by Congress. Thank you, Kankaranga. And he has to basically get it from programs where he can justify Ukraine as being part of that program. Okay. Well, one of the Politico reported today that one of the programs Biden's looking at possibly getting some extra money. It says Biden administration is considering using a State Department grant program to send additional military aid to Ukraine. One option under consideration is using foreign military financing, a program run by the State Department that provides grants or loans to help partner countries purchase weapons and defense equipment intended for Ukraine and other countries impacted by Russia's full-scale attack. So basically, a lot of the aid that we've been giving, when you look at the larger number, the larger number might be 80 billion or something like that. The lesser number, I think, is more like 40 or 50 billion, I think. And the lesser, I mean, it's not lesser, but the lower number is actual weapons we've given to Ukraine. The higher number ends up being aid we've given to surrounding countries, all sorts of other stuff, right? Thank you, Jim Alt, for that. In any case, so I don't know how much it is. It's something, we'll see. I will say this as far as aid goes. So, Jim, the latest on sort of the crisis in the U.S. House of Representatives. Thank you, LWD. Quick sip of water. Now, remember, I used to work in the United States Senate, but I was a lawyer in the Senate. I did not deal with the House very much. So, the workings of the House are a little inscrutable to me. Each body is very unique in how they're run. But what's going on right now in the House, they need a new Republican leader in the House. They're taking a week off till like next Tuesday. I think they're going to have votes on next Wednesday to hopefully pick a new speaker, they hope. But they're very, fractured right now as far as trying to get all the Republicans to agree on who to pick. The two leading candidates are both, right wing, or it's hard to say conservative because the one is MAGA. He's just MAGA. The other one, Steve Scalise, is conservative. Scalise, from the one voting record I saw, was given like a B in the American scale, and A is top, B is good, C is average, right? He was given a B, which is good. The other one is, and I should say he's a B, but they gave, what's his face? Kevin McCarthy, the guy that just got kicked out as speaker, they gave him a B minus. So actually Scalise, they ranked a little bit higher, which was interesting. Doesn't mean he's going to fund Ukraine, but interesting. The other one that's top of the list is Jim Jordan. Jim Jordan's crazy. He's crazy. As I said, I am going to give you an unbiased opinion because Steve Scalise is very conservative. He's not crazy. He's just a real conservative guy. Okay. Smart guy, real conservative. Jim Jordan is freaking nuts. He's MAGA, but he's MAGA in the, he might as well be attached as a Siamese twin to Donald Trump. He's crazy. He's angry. Everything he does is, when I say everything he does is about partisan politics, all politicians are partisan. Jim Jordan, there isn't a word that comes out of his mouth that isn't about how do I screw Democrats over and I'm going to lie about it. It's like a Marjorie Taylor Greene. Everything is a lie and everything is crazy. He's crazy. He is so anti-Ukraine because because Trump is anti-Ukraine. He was interviewed today and he said, no, we're not giving any money to Ukraine because that's not the priority of the American people right now. They want to worry about the southern border, immigration, which is just a ridiculous argument because it's like, well, are you saying under your tutelage, if you're speaker, the U.S. government won't work on anything other than immigration? Like literally this whole year, we're not going to spend money on anything other than immigration for the whole year? Really? I mean, that's just ridiculous. But it tells you who he is. Let's see what happens. Let's see what happens. I mean, it's a mess. It's an absolute mess. But not good news. Putin claimed today, this was interesting. Putin claimed today that he had successfully tested the Burevestnik, an experimental nuclear-powered cruise missile, which the experts, by the way, mentioned that this missile has been having all sorts of problems for 4 years now. So it's not really clear if this missile, anything's going to happen. I mean, Putin says the test went well. That doesn't mean they lie all the time. What was interesting about today's news, though, was Putin does some interview, and he gets asked in the interview by the interviewer, says, shouldn't we be changing Russia's nuclear policy to date has been, that Russia needs to be attacked or whatever with nukes before we respond, or Russia's existence needs to be threatened. So like a conventional attack on Russia where literally we're closing in on Moscow and the Americans are about to take Moscow, but we're not using nukes. Under their policy, they would use nukes anyway, which frankly makes sense. I mean, it's actually a reasonable argument for when they would use nukes. Other countries, I think, would have a similar thing. Well, Putin gets asked by the interviewer, which means it was planned, of course, because Putin doesn't get asked questions by interviewers that he's not ready for, right? So Putin gets asked by the Russian interviewer and says, says to him, shouldn't we, it is clear from Ukraine that the Americans and NATO doesn't fear us. In order for them they don't fear our nukes, they don't fear us. Shouldn't we change the rules on using nuclear weapons so that the threshold is much lower? So it's much easier and much more likely that Russia will use nuclear weapons against the West so that they'll really be afraid of us. Putin responds, no. He says, why? Because there's no reason to. He goes, we've got enough nukes to destroy the West. If the West were to ever launch a nuclear attack against us, we would respond and we would destroy them. And he says, and they know it, and they'd be stupid to attack us, and they're not going to. So there's no reason for us to have, a better reason for why we'd use them. What was interesting to me was two things. One, you will recognize what Putin's saying because I tell you this all the time. Thank you. Was it le balancier? Merci. Right. It's, he says these things all the this is what I say all the time, right? The Russians know we've got weapons. They know we know they've got weapons. We know if they were to attack us, we'll attack them back. They know that too. If we attack them first, they'll attack us back. Either way, we all use our nukes. We all die. No one's going to use nukes. But what was interesting to me too is that I thought the interview for sure Putin was going to say, yes, we should consider that, like just to try to scare the West a little bit more on the nuclear thing. But he said no. He said no. We don't need to lower the threshold, which I thought that was absolutely fascinating. Absolutely fascinating to me. And Evie, I'm not agreeing with Putin today. Putin's agreeing with me today because I said it first. So I get away with it in that case. Thank you for the glasses there, boy mom. What else we got here? Oh, I'll do a quick pitch for memberships. And then there's a lot of news stories today, actually. Thank you for the heart there, Crazy American. And a couple of them were like big stories worth talking about. So thank you, Charles. So I knew they were going to go a little late. So memberships, just remember, guys, one of the ways you guys can help. And again, this goes back to what I was saying about this weekend. Thank you, Jetta Mom and Mark Starr. This weekend, I will be holding a coffee talk Saturday at 11 a.m. Eastern. Thank you, Terence, Terence Rocks. I thought it was Terencero. I'm thinking it's Spanish, Terence. The Saturday, 11 a.m. Eastern, I will be doing a special live just for the TikTok subscribers on TikTok. That's the paid monthly subscribers, the folks that have SNN next to their name. You guys join me at 11 a.m. Saturday. You guys, Twitch, Discord, YouTube, Ko-fi, all of those monthly subscribers, although some of you Ko-fi guys might be here too. The Ko-fi guys, you can join me on Discord. There's a special section that says John's weekly show. Join us there. Same thing. Hopefully my friend Vlad will join us. I hope. But you can check out any of those monthly subscriptions on TikTok. Just do it via the subscriptions on TikTok directly. Thank you, Louis. The rest of you can do it. YouTube's got them. All the green name folks, Carlos and Greg and some of the others here are all my monthly subscribers who are supporting me on a monthly basis. Michael, Chris, and Susanna with the fall gift. That's a very nice one. Thank you. But there's lots of ways of doing the monthly gifts as well for you guys. If you guys can, I appreciate it. It helps out. So thank you. All right, let's keep going here. Prigozhin. So there's a rather funny Prigozhin update today. Putin says there was no evidence of okay, first of all, the Russians lie. We've talked about this before. Everything the Russian government says is pretty much a lie. Just assume it's a lie. It was this way during the Soviet years, and it's no different today. I mean, when they say, sometimes they'll tell the truth, sure, but it's rare. Certainly they won't tell the truth if it's anything that, might make them look bad. So Putin is doing an investigation of what killed Yevgeny Prigozhin, the Wagner Group leader, right? The mercenary group leader whose plane mysteriously blew up near Moscow 2 months after he tried to overthrow Putin. Putin's government is doing the investigation, so we all knew there was a real good chance they weren't going to find anything, right? Well, Putin came out today and said the investigation showed no evidence of an external impact, so no evidence of a missile hitting or anything else, but added the investigation still ongoing. He then said, but we found fragments of hand grenades in the bodies of the dead. And Putin postulated that maybe Prigozhin and his men got drunk or were high on cocaine in the plane, and they started playing with hand grenades because they were high and started playing with hand grenades, and they killed each other because they were high or drunk. He adds, listen to this quote too. And again, we're talking Russia's a dictatorship. Nothing happens without Putin's permission. He adds, unfortunately, no examination was carried out for the presence of alcohol or drugs in the blood of the victims. Putin says, from my point of view, such an examination should have been done. Okay, if no examination was done on the blood of the victims, it's because they didn't want to find the poison Putin put probably in the pilot's blood. There's no way that Putin didn't get in. Seriously. If the second the second Putin looked at the attack, they would have said, "Oh yeah, we didn't check the blood." He'd say, "Go back and check the blood." Bullshit. It's absolute BS. He's lying. But I love that. Maybe they were high. I said on Twitter earlier, I was like, yeah, maybe they were high and started playing with hand grenades, as one does when one is high. The old getting high and playing with hand grenades trick that we're all very familiar with. Give me a break. The guy killed them. He's claiming they didn't do toxicity tests. That's what he's claiming. Yeah. No, there were no tests for alcohol or drugs, which again, bullshit. Bullshit. No test for alcohol or drugs. He's lying. He's a total lie. Well, that's a good point. How did they do the DNA? That's a good point too. Well, he's saying they checked a lot of things, but not drugs and alcohol. Actually, there's a good question. Audrey's probably not with us tonight. We need somebody who's a pathology expert. Thank you, Marie. I don't know if anybody who's here tonight is an expert in pathology, but typically if there's a plane crash, thank you, Annette. That's a very nice one. I appreciate that. Thank you. I don't know if Audrey's here though. Oh, you are here. Okay. Typically, keep in mind, we're talking about Russia, okay? Audrey is our dead body expert, but she is, though. She's a pathologist. I believe a pathologist, if you would call it that. Keep in mind, we're talking about Russia, so this isn't Canada. She's from Canada. Canada, obviously, super developed country, okay? But keep in mind, so we're talking about Russia. Nonetheless, if there's an aviation accident like what happened with Prigozhin, it's a small private plane. Thank you, Tomcast. Thank you, Malcolm. 10 people die, 3 crew, 7 people. Rather high profile, clearly very high profile. Would it be standard to do blood or drug testing, alcohol or drug testing on the victims of the plane? Anybody on the plane? Thank you, Malcolm. Lots of gifts here. Bessim, Malcolm, Bessim, thank you. So what do you say, Audrey? Is Putin lying, or is it believable that they wouldn't have tested for alcohol and drugs? Keeping in mind how high profile it is. Now, mind you, they're the passengers, so they could argue, well, they're the passengers, they're not flying the plane, right? That's a possibility. I could see them now on the pilot. They should have done it on the pilot. That's why I'm wondering, Manda, about from Audrey though. Is it possible that they would have skipped the passengers and only done the pilots? Oh, okay, interesting. Audrey's saying it may not work. Blood will be coagulated and or burned. Oh, that's interesting. That's interesting. Okay, very interesting. So they might not have been able, except of course Putin's not saying that. Putin's saying they chose not to do the examination. Thank you, Norway Fox. And he's upset. He said, no examination was carried out. My point of view, such an examination should have been done. Well, if no examination was carried out, they would have told Putin it wasn't carried out because the bodies were burnt so much there was no way to test anything. Well, again, Putin lies. I mean, this is the thing. Everything Putin says is a lie. So even if what Audrey's saying is, I mean, it is correct, but even if what Audrey's saying is the reason they didn't test, Putin's trying to find some other fake reason. It's weird. It's really weird. He's just, he lies. Bloomberg reports that Turkey is going to host the next allied meeting to discuss peace in Ukraine. You recall they held the two summits already. One was in Denmark. The other, I think, was it Saudi? It was Saudi Arabia. Saudi Arabia in August. Russia was not invited. Haha, Russia got very upset. Thank you, M. Fuller, for the magic hands. And they're going to be holding the next one in a couple weeks, at the end of this month in October. This one is in Istanbul. Anyway, interesting. I mean, it tends to be a very Ukraine-friendly get-together. It's based on sort of looking at Ukraine's peace plan and trying to, I think my suspicion is it's about trying to get some of the developing countries to basically show some backbone and morals and ethics and come around and start helping Ukraine on this. But we'll see. Because the developing countries, a lot of them prefer to help their oppressors rather than helping like the small guys getting beaten up by the imperialists, but oh well. Scholz in Germany pledged another Patriot system to Ukraine. I have not seen the details on this yet to see, is it actually another Patriot system? Thank you, Mark, for that. Right? Is it another Patriot system? Meaning it's the entire system. So now they've got another system that could operate somewhere else independently, or are they giving them, again, parts for the systems they've got? I don't know. Anybody heard? I don't know if anybody's heard. Google and see. I know some of you are German and are able to like chat. I forgot who it was, Mike or some of the rest of you. Oh, who is it? There's like my Swedish guy. I'm forgetting my names. My Swedish named guy, and some of the rest of you who are in Germany. Maybe you can check the list and see, because the German government has like a list up that lists sort of all the aid they're giving. Spain will provide another 6 Hawk air defense systems to Ukraine. Kyiv, this was good news too. Kyiv put on hold its complaints against Poland, Slovakia, and Hungary at the World Trade Organization over the grain agreements. This is good. This is about grain and filing complaints about the other countries and all sorts of stuff. The fact that Ukraine put its complaint on hold means they're trying to work things out, and basically they're all kind of disengaging, which is good. So this is really good, actually. I mention it because it's a sign that whole animosity that was building between Poland and Ukraine, they're trying to now sort of decompress it a little bit. So that's good news. Ukrainian hackers paralyzed Russia's largest airports in a recent attack. A hacking attack. This, according to the digital transformation minister in Ukraine. Rheinmetall, a big German defense company, has received an order in the 2-digit million euro range. So two-digit million. Okay. So that means anywhere from like 10 million to 99 million euros, which is almost the same in dollars, from the German government to supply Ukraine with mobile drone surveillance systems. Very cool. Thank you, Bonnie, for the boiling cauldron. Zelensky met today in Spain. He showed up at a conference in Granada, Spain, as a surprise, for security reasons, a surprise guest, and met today with the prime ministers of Spain and Italy, which is obviously good. And finally, Slovakia. There was a Slovakian government. You remember Slovakia this past weekend had their parliamentary elections. A kind of weird, because again, today's politics are weird to define as left or right. This party is kind of left, but they're super pro-Putin and super anti-Ukraine, and they promised they were going to cut off all aid to Ukraine. So Slovakia paused all military aid to Ukraine pending the sort of installation of the new government. The New York Times explained what Slovakia was doing so far militarily, which I thought was interesting just to read you guys. A halt in Slovakia's military support may not have major repercussions in the war. Slovakia has so far committed 670 million euros, about $705 million in military aid to Ukraine, according to the Kiel Institute for the Work Economy, a far cry from the billions of dollars sent by countries including US, Germany, and Britain. Still, Slovakia has been a steady supporter of Ukraine in its war against Russia's invasion and was the first country to provide Ukraine with fighter jets and air defense missiles. Also, they say that because of the concerns in the West, because of the concerns with Hungary being a real pain in the butt, the current concerns in the U.S. as well with changing attitudes in Congress, or well, MAGA Republicans in Congress, they're still worried about Slovakia sort of creating a precedent and building momentum, sort of building an anti-Ukraine momentum. Like, oh, here's another country that's going soft on Ukraine. You're right. It still could become a little bit of a self-fulfilling prophecy in terms of the larger dynamic of NATO overall. So, concern with that. That is it for the news today. I will switch to questions in a second. I will show you guys a few of our auction items, since all the auction items are now live on our auction. As I said at the beginning of the show, we do really cool auctions of stuff I get from Ukraine. 50% of the auction monies go back to Ukraine. 50%. Oh, thank you, Carlos. I don't know if I saw that earlier. If I didn't, thank you. 50% of the monies we raise in the auctions go right back to Ukraine for charity. We do. We help the military as well with camouflage nets, things like that. 50% goes to support my work because I do this for free and I do it full time, so I got to pay the bill somehow. And today I sent to Vlad a little over $600 in of your guys' auction money. I sent to Vlad for our charity work in Ukraine. So thank you for that, you guys. And the new items are now up on the Discord, discord.aravosis.com. The auctions run through next Wednesday. Among the items, a very cool decorative cutting board, but it's decorative, made by a Ukrainian artist in a small village. It's I think it's Petrikivka style. Is that what I call it? But very pretty, hand-painted. Thank you, Jetta Mom. Traditional Ukrainian style. Very nice. We've got, actually, I kind of love this. It's a fridge ornament that Sam, one of our folks here, got when he was in Ukraine. He was volunteering in Ukraine. But what I love about it is it's so kitschy. It says Ukraina on top and Ukraine on the bottom, and it's a big map of Ukraine, fridge ornament. But I love kitschy fridge ornaments. I think like they're so much better when they're goofy. And you can see it's a pretty big magnet, but it's goofy. You know what I mean? Like the way a fridge magnet should be. So I love that. Another fridge magnet. These are very cool. These are put up by the Ukrainian government, and they're Christmas ornaments that are also fridge magnets, but they also can be hung as Christmas ornaments. This is, I've got written down what this is. This is like the Yule goat. Hang on, I'm going to pull this up because it's kind of interesting. It's this Ukrainian Yule goat. Hold on, I'm going to read this because I did some research on it because I wanted to know why there was a goat in this picture, and it's the coolest thing. Hold on, Christmas ornament. Okay, here we go. This is the traditional koza, or goat, which is a Ukrainian folk play that was acted out during Christmas time by young men wearing an inverted sheepskin coat and a mask resembling a goat's head, who visited all the houses in a village and performed a ritual dance to bring about an abundant harvest. Isn't that great? So we look at it's a goat. It's a Christmas goat. And it's funny. I even asked Vlad about this. I was like, Vlad, what's the deal with the Christmas goat? And he goes, I don't know. So now you know about the Ukrainian Christmas goat. A couple other things. I have a new coffee mug. It's a Patron coffee mug. Patron from the Ukrainian government. Patron, the bomb-sniffing dog. There he's fishing for landmines, or I should say ocean mines, water mines. So that's Patron. So very nice little coffee mug. Sam as well got us a really neat piece of a Ukrainian howitzer. This nice piece of thank you for the gift, Dawn. This is a piece of Russian howitzer, excuse me. A piece of a Russian howitzer. He basically, it's a howitzer that's being displayed in Kyiv, in the capital, because they've got a lot of the Russian tanks and other Russian military equipment that they've captured. It's on display in Kyiv, and this is it on display. This is it destroyed in the forest, and this is a typical picture of it. But it's really nice. He did a write-up of where they found it. It was destroyed in the Battle of Hostomel, but this one was destroyed, they think, closer to April 2nd. Anyway, it's neat because he's got a whole explanation of it, and then that's the piece right there. of the howitzer that he was able to get. And he was actually the one who got the piece. So he knows this is the provenance, which I think is very cool. All right, one or two more things, guys, and then we'll go. Piece of a Russian fighter jet. I love this kind of stuff. I mean, I don't know if nobody else likes this kind of stuff, this is going to be my Christmas gifts to myself and my nephew who's into this too. This is from an S-34 Russian fighter jet bomber or fighter bomber. And you can see it's curved. It's not supposed to be curved, but it, got shot down and crashed. But you can see it's got the cool, what are they called? Nut somethings. What do they call these? The bolts. Are they nut bolts? I always forget what you guys call those. You military folks know this. The back is neat because the framework, the skeleton framework on the back is for some kind of sliding device, which is kind of cool. It's called a nut something. I wrote it. It's in the description. I've got it in the description on Discord. You'll see. Nope. Pull it up, guys. Just go to my Discord. Pull it up in the auction on Discord, somebody, and you'll see the name. But it's these. It's this sliding thing because you slide them on the pieces that you're potentially going to unscrew and take off. So it's typically the kind of thing that's on a piece that is laying there that you take off and put back on. Hold on. I will show you. Nut plate is sounding more correct. Let me see here. Hold on. I wrote it down. It is a nut plate. Ha! There you go. Yep. James and Mike Park, you knew it. It's a nut plate. That's exactly what it is. Yep. So it's a nut plate that I guess they use for parts that you want to remove and potentially take off the metal that's on there. So it's a very cool piece, obviously. And then finally, I've got a Russian military helmet from Ukraine. That's very cool. Old Russian military helmet. It's got the name written inside and everything. It's pretty cool. So check those out as well. We got lots of cool, couple other auction items as well. Some cool military patches from Ukraine, things like that. It's pretty cool. Anyway, go check them out. It's discord.aravosis.com. And like I said, we've got I think it's pretty fun stuff. So, and again, if you win, 50% of your bid goes back to Ukraine to help people out there anyway. So it's win-win all around. And you're supporting my work too. So there we go. All right. Let's do Q&A and everything else, guys. I know there's a lot of nut plates in the comments. Exactly. All right, guys, let's do questions and etc. Good night, Daniel. What do we got? So let's talk about what's going on today. James? No, not yesterday. No. Ukraine did not attack a Russian flagship and sink it yesterday. No. We know they attacked the Russian flagship a year ago, April 15th or so. They sank the Moskva. That was the Russian flagship that was sunk. But I don't know. I'm not sure what else they're talking about. I don't know. I mean, again, always be a little leery of people's videos, depending who they are. But there wasn't anything in the news yesterday about Ukraine sinking any ships at all. Not yesterday in the news. Yeah, Shane saying, I wish we sank another ship. Yeah, I wish, but there was nothing in the news in the last day. No. Yeah, Daniel O'Neill's mentioning there was a good Wall Street Journal story on Russia's Black Sea Fleet. No problem. Russia's Black Sea Fleet has apparently left. Where is this? Let me see. Oh, actually, I can use Ava's big map and show you this. That not all, but much of Russia's Black Sea Fleet that was remaining in Sevastopol, Crimea. So here's Ukraine. Okay. Crimea is the little peninsula hanging down here. Right here is Sevastopol, which is the big naval base that the Russians want to keep forever from the Ukrainians. And because of the Ukrainian attacks on the ships, the Russians have had to move their naval base basically over here to Novorossiysk. So the Ukrainians have effectively neutered the Russian naval base in the area, which is pretty wild. By the way, it also makes me wonder if that's also not part of the reason the Russians did the sort of vicious attack they did today, killing the civilians, because they're trying to show that even if they lose their naval base, they can still shoot these missiles from ships anywhere or planes anywhere and kill as many Ukrainians as they want. So I wonder if that isn't part of it. No problem. You're welcome, Margie. If that isn't part of the reason, why the Russians sort of went nuts today. Typically, with the kind of carnage they did today, they think they're proving some point or something, typically, Anyway, what else we got, guys? What else we got? Thank you, Kanasi. Yeah, that was the issue. That was the issue. MSNBC was talking about the Wall Street Journal story. Yep, that said that basically the Russians have pulled their stuff back. Well, interesting, kind of funny. Yeah, we had a troll that's being but again, this is why I call it a troll comment. Somebody just posted something about how many billions are we sending to Ukraine and not to our homeless in America. Well, here's the problem. If you support the folks who don't want to help Ukraine and want to keep that money here, they're the folks that cut the money for homelessness. So what are you going to do? You going to vote for them again? That's all I'm saying. Jim Jordan and Steve Scalise are not going to be giving money to homeless in America. They're not going to give a penny to homeless in America. If they cut Ukraine, they want to just cut the budget 30% entirely. Everything. Old people, young people, your student loans, everything. They just want to cut everything 30%. They don't want to cut Ukraine and use the money in America. By the way, it's not enough, the money for Ukraine. It's not enough to make much of a difference in America anyway. But the very folks who are the MAGA folks, the MAGA crowd is not interested in, they want to build the wall. Biden does now too, which is interesting. But they don't want to invest in homelessness. I mean, people, the thing is, what really gets my goat, not the Yule goat, but what gets my goat about this is that they literally bring up sort of left-wing causes like homelessness. They love to talk about homelessness. And it's like the people you're voting for who want to kill aid to Ukraine will never give a dime to the homeless. So if you really support them, you shouldn't be voting for them. I mean, which one is it? So that's why we block people like that when they come up. Yep. See, nut plates. I learned that too, Tom. I did not know about it until Aaron sort of introduced me to them. So yeah. Anyway, uniform factory fire. Don't even know about it. Don't even know. Turkish drone shooting. I mean, who knows? So there's a story. Thank you, Ernie. Right before I came on, that U.S. troops in Syria, I believe, shot down a Turkish drone that was it was armed and coming way too close to our forces. It was something like half a mile away. We gave a dozen warnings or whatever saying, turn around, stop, identify yourself, or we're going to blow you up. They didn't respond, and we finally blew up the drone. It's weird. Yeah, Callum's saying it's weird. It's weird. It makes me wonder if, A, bad guys got their hands on a Turkish drone, because, I mean, kind of smart, right? Get a Turkish drone in Ukraine or somewhere, or from the Russians, and use it to attack American troops who are going to be confused and maybe not shoot it down. The problem is it's a drone. In the end, there's no downside in shooting down a drone. It's not like it's a Turkish plane, right? The drones don't have anybody in it. So if the drone's getting too close to U.S. troops, in the end, U.S. troops have no problem blowing it, even if it's Turkish. So what, right? But it's a weird story. It's a weird story. Yeah, Biden, there's something going on today with Biden wants to beef up the border fences or something. I will tell you that, I mean, again, I don't want to go on a because somebody asked if I was telling the truth. I mean, if I was joking. That's serious. I will say personally, I don't really care. If a wall were to work, I'm fine with it. The problem is the people proposing the wall weren't really proposing a wall because they thought it was going to work. It just, they wanted to do it. And I don't think we should be making policy based on some guy's gut. You know what I mean? We should be making and who he hates. We should be making policy based on what works. If a wall works to stop the immigration, to stop the illegal immigration and the migration, fine with me. Fine with me. I mean, but in any case, but yeah, Biden changed his view on that today. So, but again, I'm kind of fine with. I don't really care. I mean, who cares? If we set up a wall again. Trump didn't build the wall anyway. I mean, he built almost none of it. But again, I want us to do something on the border that actually works personally, and then I'm fine with it. I'm not a big fan of illegal immigration. I mean, not to get into that topic today. So I'm adjusting my lighting here. Oops, it is kind of, hold on. The lighting's a little, sunset, the lighting gets a little weird in my apartment. Any case. All right, guys, what else we got? The jet ski raid. I still have not read up on the jet ski raid. The Ukrainians did some amazing jet ski raid on, I think, Crimea. And I've got the article saved and I keep meaning to read it and I've not read it yet. So, Democrats are too scared about the election and the border. They are, and they need to stop it. Because I think to some degree, Democrats are underestimating Latinos. If they think Latinos are going to get mad that we stop people from coming in the country illegally, I think they're underestimating Latinos. because I think a lot of Latinos really don't like people coming illegally. I mean, as we've seen, Latinos are increasingly supporting Republicans too, you know? Well, the problem with assassinating, somebody says, Len says, can't we just assassinate Putin? Well, I mean, a couple of different problems there. One, if we assassinate Putin, we go to war with Russia. It's an act of war. And if we go to war, that could be really bad. Two, we don't know who's coming next. You know, what if we assassinate Putin and somebody worse comes along? So, you know, but if you assassinate him, you know, you're kind of putting us on track to go to war with. It's an act of war. So, you know, you could try to assassinate him, have nobody know, but what if they find out? But also, as I said, excuse me, what happens if the next guy is even worse? Like we don't really know. You know, we don't want him to be worse. That's for sure. You know. Anyway. The U.S. does have the money to support Ukraine. First of all, we've got it on its face. Obviously, we've got the money. Thank you, Michael. If you're worried about money, then you might want to look at the Donald Trump tax cuts. They cost around $2 or $3 trillion. That's like, you know, 2 to 300 trillion would be 2 to 3 trillion. I forget how many times that is the Ukraine aid, but it's several, like at least 100 times the Ukraine aid, if not several. You know, then cut the tax cuts. But you can't, and I will say the person here, I will guarantee you the person who just said that, if they're American, voted for Donald Trump. Donald Trump added $7 trillion with a T to the U.S. national debt in only 4 years. He wasn't an 8-year president. He was a 4-year president. He added $7 trillion, and there isn't a single Republican who complained about it. So I don't accept it. I don't accept the concern. I am old enough, and I really am, to have watched every time the Republicans come to power, they talk about the national debt, and then they pass the tax cut that ends up costing $2 or $3 trillion. They say it's going to pay for itself. It never does. And since the days of Reagan, Reagan started it. We've had Republicans build up the debt and Democrats bring it down. Reagan built up the debt. Clinton came in, Bill Clinton, and got us to a budget. So we had a surplus of like $400 billion when Bill Clinton came in, a surplus in our budget. We were making money, right? George Bush came in and immediately suggested a couple $1 trillion in tax cuts before 9/11. And we did the George Bush tax cuts. And what do you know? We went back into deficit again. And this happens every time. Obama, you know, we had the economic collapse, no choice. But guess what? Trump came in and spent even more than Obama did. So, you know, both parties, well, not both parties, honestly, because Republicans have been better. Democrats have been better, but you just can't. I absolutely reject any argument about Ukraine and the debt, because again, the people that are saying this are the people who made the debt and didn't care about it 2 years ago when it was Donald Trump. So don't tell me it's the debt. And by the way, then I don't really want my taxes to go up, but why aren't you talking about dismantling the tax cuts if you're worried about programs adding to the debt? No one's, God forbid we do that, right? So, you know, no, it's a BS. The problem is it's a lie of an argument. I don't like the lies. It's a lie of an argument. It's a lie of an argument. And I don't like it when people lie. And that's what you're getting with that. Oh, Ukraine's costing, you know, us money, but they're lying. They don't care about the money. And again, their proposals are costing, how much more is it? Hold on. I'm going to let me do a quick little, I'm good at math, but I just don't feel like doing math in my head while I'm live. 1 second here. So glasses. All right. Let me see. All right. Billion trillion. Okay. Divided by Ukraine, maybe. Yeah. Maybe 80 billion. So yeah, the tax cuts are 40 times what we spent in Ukraine. That's what I've got. If I did that correctly, 40 times. 40 times. Let me see. Yeah. Yeah, that sounds about right. I think that's about right. Yeah. Yeah. So 40 times. So, you know, you're not worried about that. So what do you do? What else we got? What else we got, guys? Oops. Well, that's the other thing. I mean, you know, America's selling weapons. I mean, the weapons, first of all, the weapons were given to Ukraine We're having to make more weapons here in America. That's helping American businesses. Orders are going there. A lot of the aid Ukraine's buying, other countries in the world, I mean, Poland now, Europe can't get enough of our weapons now. The Poles just bought, 200 HIMARS or 400 HIMARS, whatever it was. Europeans can't get enough. People can't get enough of American weapons now. We're actually doing well in many ways because of the war in Ukraine. So, I mean, but as I said, this is an argument Biden should be making, but he doesn't, about how this is actually helping the American, because it's considered gross to say it helps the American economy. I don't consider it gross. You should talk about, is this benefit there? Because again, these people say it's hurting the American economy. Say, well, okay, if you want to talk about the American economy, then let's tell the truth. It's helping the American economy. So don't lie, Also, I mean, come on. The first time in history that Republicans don't want to spend money on defense? Come on. Right? I guarantee you, again, if Trump wins the presidency, you're not only going to not hear ever again about the deficit, you're not going to hear anything about the deficit when it comes to defense spending. Then we're going to spend all the money in the world on defense. I mean, come on. Suddenly Republicans care about defense spending. Come on. Anyway. Well, a country is not supposed to order an assassination of another country's leader. Correct. I'm sure we could, but we're not supposed to. Yeah. So that is correct. What else, guys? We can always end soon and go over to Discord. We haven't done Discord in a few days, so I don't mind doing Discord. I made some more of my fish and tomato dish, which I can put on my rice in a minute and go on to Discord while the rice is cooking. Deb, that's a little personal for the show tonight. So, what else we got? Fish and tomatoes? The fish and tomatoes are great. What do you mean? Brave man. You've never had baked fish in the oven with tomatoes? Really? What else we got, guys? Anything else? Callum's afraid of fish and tomatoes. All right. Well, when you come to America, it's codfish. It's just a very nice, simple recipe. Cod with some shallots, little garlic, lemon, vinaigrette. Cook those in the oven without the fish and then put the fish in with it and cook, and lovely. On rice, very nice. Very tasty. Oh, it's very good. It's a very simple recipe, but very good. I make it all the time. Also because it's really good for you. There's not like a lot of fat, and it's just, yummy. Anyway, not a fish sauce. That's gross. Fish sauce just sounds disgusting. I mean a fish. An actual fish. I know we're already devolving into our cooking aspect of this. Where's the recipe from? I think it's from the New York Times or something. I got it from a neighbor, but I don't know if I've got it even here. I can always put it on the Discord. Let me see. What's it from? It's from, because I have it is from New York Times, but New York Times, it's going to be, New York Times is behind a paywall, but it's their 1-pan roasted fish with cherry tomatoes, but it's a pretty simple recipe. I mean, again, I can sort of put it up on the Discord. I'll put it up on the Discord in the food section of the Discord. That probably makes the most sense. Let me look here. I'm trying to remember if I think I can, hold on. I want to see if I can actually save a PDF. I don't know if I can. Oops. No, it's being evil. I'm trying to see how I take a PDF and share it on Discord, but I don't think I can. Well, maybe I can. One moment. I may share this as we're talking. We'll do our little promo for Discord right here. Discord, share in the Aravosis Report, share to, this is cute. I actually can put this here. All right. I'm going to put it in recipes. Let's see if it posts a PDF. It's going to take me a minute here. Well, here, recipes. Did I call it recipes or food? What do we call the section? Okay, I'm not finding it as either. All right, hold on, guys. Let me find this section here. General chat. It's sort of food. There we go. All right. Oh, it's actually posting it's posting both. All right. Well, let's see. It may be posting the written and the, all right. There we go. It's in the Discord. Hopefully it printed not gobbledygook. I'm checking our food section on Discord. Yeah. Yeah, it printed it fine. Yeah, it looked like it printed it twice, but who cares? Yeah, and then it's got the PDF there as well. Excellent. There you go. So it's in the recipe section on Discord. Thank you, Tomcat. I said don't add salt, but I'm not correct about that. If you're using feta, I add feta to it sometimes. If you use feta in it, don't add salt. If you don't add feta, use salt. So there you go. Now you got my recipe, guys. All right, let me do a quick, sorry, what was it? Oh, Daniel. Thank you, Daniel. I got that for talking about food. Thank you, Daniel. Let me do a quick summary of the news here, guys, and then we will go over to just varenuku. Is that like vareniku? Is that like the little dumplings? Vareniki? Don't you call them vareniki? Oh, you're writing the ooze as e's. Yes, I love vareniki. Yes. The wonderful little Ukrainian dumplings. Very good. Very good. Thank you, Super Hornet. Oh, that's funny. Before Lent, whitefish cod with stewed tomatoes. I guess so. I just had it recently and I liked it. It was just very good, even though I'm not a Lent guy, but it was very good. All right, quick summary of the news, guys, and then we'll go to Discord and hang out a little bit while my rice is cooking. Today is day 588 of Putin's 3-day special military operation. We will have our coffee talk on Saturday. That's the 11 a.m. Eastern Time U.S. Saturday chat I do on TikTok and on Discord just for the paid subscribers. So if you are a paid monthly subscriber, join us on one of those services. TikTok for the TikTokers, Discord for everybody else, YouTube, Twitch, Ko-fi, etc. 51 Ukrainians are dead, including a 6-year-old, when Russia bombed a cafe today in a town near Kharkiv, Ukraine, where a wake was taking place for a fallen Ukrainian soldier. I then went through a list of other Russian attacks on civilians because it is long established Russian policy to bomb civilians as an intentional target in a war. Not that civilians get killed. They literally go after civilians on purpose repeatedly. They've been doing it every day of the war. No one does it like the Russians do. No one in the developed world does it like that. Sorry, Ukrainochka saying they've got an alarm now, at least alarm in your region, hopefully not in your town. Politico says the Biden administration is considering using a State Department grant program to send additional military aid to Ukraine without Congress's approval, meaning they wouldn't need Congress's approval. Putin claimed today that Russia had successfully tested a new experimental nuclear-powered missile, but he did add, when asked if he would make it easier for Russia to use nukes against the West, he said there was no reason to change their nuclear doctrine, which was positive and interesting. Putin then said that there's no evidence of external impact on the Prigozhin plane, and he thinks Prigozhin died because Prigozhin got drunk or was doing cocaine with a bunch of his friends on the plane, and because they were high and drunk, they started playing with hand grenades, and the hand grenade exploded and took down the plane, and that's what Putin thinks. And if you believe that, yeah. Bloomberg says Turkey is going to host the next allied meeting of countries to discuss Ukrainian peace plan. This would be the third peace meeting. The last one was in Saudi Arabia recently. That'll happen later this month. Germany pledged another Patriot missile system to Ukraine. Spain will provide Ukraine with another 6 Hawk air defense systems. Kyiv put on hold its grain complaints at the World Trade Organization against Poland, Slovakia, and Hungary. That's good because it shows they're trying to sort of lessen tensions between the neighbors. That's good. Ukrainian hackers paralyzed Russia's largest airports in a recent attack. Rheinmetall, the big German defense contractor, received an order in the 10 million to 99 million euro or dollar range from the German government to supply Ukraine with mobile drone surveillance systems. Zelensky met prime ministers of Spain and Italy in Granada, Spain at a summit today. And finally, Slovakia. I went through the New York Times giving some details on what Slovakia actually has done for Ukraine to date in the war and what is being risked by this new government that they may not give to Ukraine. But, it's nice what Slovakia gave. It's not going to cost Ukraine the war, but it still would be better to have them help Ukraine than not. So there. All right, guys, that's it for the news today. Thank you, Sue, for a last-minute gift. Let's go over to Discord, and we will hang out there. Remember the Discord community. It's discord.aravosis.com. And when you get there, look on the far left top, the top for John's after party. And we'll go hang for 15, 20 minutes. As soon as we finish, I'll join in, and then I'll put the rice on. That'll take a good 20 minutes for the rice that we'll be hanging out there. So, all right, guys. All right. Have a good night. Otherwise, thank you for the gifts. Thank you for joining us. And thank you, mods, for modding, as always. All right, guys. Otherwise, usually we got like 20 to 40 people that come and hang. So come hang at the Discord for a little bit. It's fun. All right. All right. See you guys in a little bit. All right. Good, Nathan. I'll see you there. All right.